Hello, my lovely sewing friends. Welcome back. Welcome back. Let's just join our TikTok friends to us. And then we're going to get started showing you some very historic quilts. Hold on a minute. 3, 2, 1. And let's do that. There we go. So how are we? Welcome back to this evening. So this is the last event of our Not Going to Festival Quilts events. We've had 6 events over the last 4 days, which have been really exciting, from Zoom demos to talks to workshops to sewing days. And hello, lovely lovely by sisters. Hello, so lovely by sisters. And so now I'm going to show you some of our very historic quilts that are within our it's Nettie. Hello, Nettie. We're going to show you some of our lovely quilts that are in our quilt museum. So let me talk you through our quilt museum first of all. It's basically when we had our very first birthday back in March this year, we decided that what we would do is launch our SHQA quilt museum. And this is basically some of the quilts that I've made, some of them that I've personally bought, some that have been donated to us, some that got really great history. And what we do is we take them on tour around the UK. So we take them to quilting groups and we set them all up in the room, and then we talk about the history behind them. And so I thought, you know what, to end I'm Not Going to Festival Quilts events today is to show you some of those quilts, because some of them are pretty lovely. So first of all, let's say hello to Sharan over on YouTube, and also to Lynn's as well. Looking forward to seeing the quilts. So yeah, so if you're on any of our social media platforms, if you're over on TikTok, or if you are on YouTube or Facebook or any of the others, do say hello, because I can see the comments. And if you want to ask any questions about the quilts, then do ask. And if I put one quilt away and you want to ask about the quilt that's before, then do definitely come back and see it. Hello, Bluebirdie. Well done, you found me. So yeah, so actually, there is going to be 2 quilts that are for sale tonight, which are going to be right at the very end. So if you missed the Let's Go Shopping to the SHQA shop earlier, I'm going to show you those 2 quilts right at the very end. Hello, Tiana. So Bluebirdie's probably got a question. Why is it live over 18? There you go. I knew that was coming, Bluebirdie, because I've got 2 quilts that I'm going to be selling right at the very end, and so that's why. So obviously, I've had to put our SHQA no, he can't. No, Leon cannot join. So yes, so I've put our TikTok into shop mode, so that I can actually talk about the 2 quilts, because also as well, I'm going to be showing you lots of different quilts and lots of different fabric. And what will happen if it is not in shop mode on TikTok is we will just get constantly restricted. It's very infuriating. Anyway, let's get on with the quilts. So I have actually got, as you can see, there is quite a bit of lots of empty space now. So I have actually pulled quite a few out. And I was thinking, which one shall I? Obviously, there's loads of them which are amazing. All of our quilts can be seen on our website. So if you go to our website, click on Quilt Museum, you can see every single quilt on there. Oh, actually, maybe not every single quilt. I think it's like 3 that's not on there, because they're the ones that I got when I went to California earlier this year. We need to get them on. But apart from that, they're all on there. So there is more details about, and there's a sizes and things about them. So anyway, let's get on. So I thought I would start with some of my own quilts. I'm going to start off with, oh, hold on a minute. I've just had a technical thing from the technical department. Hold on. There you go. That's better. Much more lighting, that's better. So I thought I would start with showing you my very first quilt, okay, that I made. And this is my very first quilt that I made. And I really have a lot of, let's say, a lot of love that went into this quilt, because this is like the first one that I made that was hand sewn, okay, and I have actually got my second one that I hand sewed, and so I'm going to show you that one as well. So this one is what it is like SHQA bags in the corner. Oh, the SHQA bags in the corner. Oh, what you mean down there on the floor? Those ones are actually going to the hospital. They are the hospital. Oh yeah, they are the hospital kits, these ones down here. Bluebirdie, look, I'll quickly show you. It's those ones. They're going to the children's hospital. The little, you remember I was making them up a little while ago, the little packs. Anyway, so this is the very first quilt that I made, and I mean, it is all hand sewn. And I actually did English paper piece it, because you remember I've said to you before that I really love working with hexiform. Well, I didn't know anything about hexiform before, and you know, when I made this quilt. So this one I made back in 2020 when I was recovering from my hysterectomy, and you know what, and I literally did use, and I used all the scrap fabric, and I didn't have much fabric then either, and also that does actually have a label on it as well, because you remember I've labeled this one recently, and I really do love this one. And I learned how to do this English paper piecing off of YouTube. Literally, I can't even tell you who it was that I saw. That is how I saw it. Hello Tiana, to see you just logged in. So that is who I actually hold on a minute. My phone is going a bit mad. Turn off. There we go, done. So anyway, so I've not heard of hexiform until you mentioned. Yes, Leanne. So actually, one of the quilts that I'm going to show you is all in hexiform, and I'll show you the difference between the two that I've made. So you know, and I do have a lot of love for this quilt. Honestly, this is very much one that you know, there's so much like emotion that went into this quilt when I made it, because I was literally like recovering from my hysterectomy when I made it. I don't know why I decided to do the purple centers. I have no idea. But also what I did was I didn't really know how I was going to actually back it or anything like that, or what I was going to do. And so I just, you know, got some wadding. I got a sheets for the backing. I'll show you the back as well. And there is the back. That's the back. So, and I didn't really know how to finish it, because I didn't know how to do binding. Obviously, we are going back to like 2020, 2021. And so I decided just to do an extra row of the hexagons and just literally stitch them all the way down it. So that is like the, yeah, how it works. And then with regards to the quilting, all I did with the quilting, I'll show you close up to the screen that you can see it. I literally just, if I turn it around that way, you'll be able to see it better. I literally just followed like the when you're going like round the hexagon, that's what I did. I literally just followed going around each hexagon. And you know what, I was so chuffed with this quilt when I made it. And actually since then, you know, with other like hospital appointments that I've had, on my daughter have had, it's very much come with us for our comfort, you know. And I do have a lot of, like, you know, love for this quilt. Actually my husband washed it, and it smells amazing. So yes, I do have a label on the back, and this is another thing that I'm going to be talking to you about tonight. It's really, really, really important to always label your quilts. Label. It's the last thing to do is label, because you know, you never know where your quilt's going to end up. You don't know whether it's going to end up in the SHQA Quilt Museum, or whether it's going to end up in, you know, anywhere else. You don't know. So the label that I put on this was this is my very first hand sewn EPP quilt, English paper piecing, made in 2020 to 2021 during my hysterectomy recovery. Me, the CEO and founder of the So Happy Quilters Association. So I really, really, really love that one. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing my very first quilt, and you'll be able to see how they've come on, really, I suppose, since then. So yes, I am going to start like putting them back on the shelf. But if you've got any questions about each quilt, just put them in the comments, and I would try and answer it. And if I need to get a quilt back off, then we can definitely do that. Let's just pop that one up there. So the next one, so yeah, so if you can see these boxes sitting here, these are the basically the second to the end, I would say, of it, because this is very exciting what's in these boxes. Anyway, so the next one that hold on a minute, I'm gonna get it right. So you've seen my first quilt that I made. Okay, so let me show you my second quilt. This is my second quilt that I made, and so this is really, really big. This is a thank you so much for liking my live. Also, if you want to share my live as well, please do. I'm going to be on probably for about at least another hour and a half, at least, or maybe even 2 hours, depending on how many questions I get about my quilts. And if you're just joining now and you've never met me before, my name is Rachel, and I am the CEO and founder of the So Happy Quilters Association. And our membership is completely free. If you want to sign up to it, just go to our website and you can sign up to it on there. And anyway, so this is my second quilt that I made, and you know what, I absolutely love this one, because so this one I'd found hexiform by this point, Leanne. Okay, I'd found hexiform because the difference with English paper piecing and hexiform. So when you do English paper piecing like that other quilt, you glue the papers in and you pull the papers out. You don't have to glue them in, but most people do. And you pull the papers out. But with hexiform, what you do is you leave it in, and it's like a fabric template. It's a fabric template. I will show you exactly what it's like, because actually one of my kits that is available in my TikTok shop is for this, for the patchwork of crosses. It's actually for one block. These are actually a 1-inch honeycomb, but the kit that I've got is a 1.5-inch honeycomb. Yeah, so it is a bit like interfacing, but what it is, it's 3 different, because I know, so Susie Argent from Ashmead Designs, she created it, and it's 3 different layers of fabric. So it's a little bit like that, but it's like it's basically a fabric template. Anyway, so I'm going to show you what it looks like. I mean, I have done quite a few live sewing it. I mean, I know my Liberty Bridgeton quilt, that one is so it's used with it. Anyway, so this is what it is. It is fabric, and it's got like a woven side, and I've just dropped it on the floor. Actually, I dropped it onto the quilt. It's got a woven side and a fluffy side, and what you do is you stitch with the fluffy side down and the woven side up. Thank you very much, Chrissy. So yeah, so the woven side is up, and but in all honesty, I can assure you that there's a lot of my hexiform in this quilt where I have stitched them the wrong way around, and you know what. But anyway, so let me go back to the patchwork of crosses and why I particularly love it. Okay, so I read the story of Lucy Boston, and Lucy Boston, she's really well known for her writing her children's books like The Children of Green Knoll. She wasn't really known as a quilter. So when she got into her 60s, having been well known as a children's author, she decided, what am I going to do now? I'm in my late 60s. What am I going to do? So she actually started patchwork and sewing, and she created this block. And she was actually sewing into her 90s. And she literally couldn't see to thread the needle. So what she would do is she would have students come round, and then they would thread all the needles, and they would line them up in a long line, and she could carry on sewing. I mean, how amazing is that? And you know what, because when I read the story, so you saw my first quilt that I made back in 2020. This is my second quilt, which was this one I've got to do a label on. Let me just have a little look. This is basically another one that I started in 2021 into 2022, and I thought, you know what, if someone in their 60s, their late 60s, can really get invested in sewing, quilting, and be able to like create and design something as amazing as this, and be sewing into their 90s, that is huge inspiration for me, hugely inspiring. And I thought, you know what, let's give it a go. So what I did was I signed up to a block of the month. And I signed up to one with a company called Sew & Quilt that based down in Cornwall. And and I thought, you know, in all honesty, I didn't really know. I thought, you know what, give it a go. And so in that first year when those blocks were coming through, yes, I did do it every month, and I was really excited. But when I signed up to it the second, because I've now made 6 of these quilts. This is my first one, but I've made 6 of these, and I've got another 7th on the go. But anyway, the second year I signed up to it, what I did was I now keep it all. I now keep them like into the whole 12 months, and I sew the whole lot in one go, and I'll do it over about 2 or 3 months. So yeah, I absolutely love it, because the other reason why I really love it is because it's in Liberty fabric. I mean, who doesn't love Liberty fabric? Fabric Hoarder 123 says she loves that fabric. It's beautiful, honestly. Liberty fabric is absolutely stunning. Now the thing is with Liberty fabric, obviously it is at the more considered end of purchase of fabric, shall we say? Okay, and you know, and so I do really love that fabric. I mean, I do love like scraps as well, but I absolutely love Liberty fabric. And so yeah, so this is my second quilt that I made. Now you're probably wondering, quilt top goes onto that machine, and it gets a really good stretch all the way around it, and then it puts a beautiful pattern over it. Now obviously there is a cost element to that. Now the way I see it is that if you're going to spend a lot of money on your fabric in the first place, i.e. Liberty fabric, you might as well have it long arm, because if you're going to use the quilt, you're going to wash the quilt, you're actually going to, you know, properly use it, then you want to preserve it. But also you get beautiful patterns. So I'm going to show you the back, because you can see the pattern a lot on the back. So here is the back. That is the back. So hopefully you can see the the stitching on the back. Now the thing is, if you were going to do this on your own sewing machine, you'd never get that kind of pattern. You would only get it on a massive long arm machine. And I do think as well it is worth doing that. Hello, bargain holidays. Hello, holiday person. So if you are going to spend out on Liberty fabric, then you might as well have it long armed. And if you're going to make lovely quilts, so this one is actually quite a big quilt. It's about, I mean, how many blocks is it across the front? 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 4. It's a 4x6. So there is I am the one I'm making at the moment. So you see that this one's got all of the red fabric. Well, the one I'm working on at the moment has actually got a blue fabric. Now I've never done one in a blue. So if you follow me on my live streams, you will be able to see the progress of that, because I'm going to get back onto that soon, because obviously we've got our quilt show coming up. So yeah, so that's another thing to mention as well, is that if you haven't met me before and heard me before, then if you want to our quilt show is at the Brighton Racecourse on the 5th and the 6th of September. So please come along and please support the SHQA team and I, because honestly we are putting so much amazing work into this show. But this quilt is going to be one of the ones that's going to be on display, so you'll get to see that there. So yeah, so I'm going to put that one away. And the other thing as well is, you're probably wondering, about like storing your quilts. So that is always something that I get asked a lot of. Now, recently, as you know, I did a video when I went to the American Museum and Gardens down in Bath, and I was really, really over the moon to be able to interview Kate Hubert, who is the curator of all the quilts over at that museum. And I asked her about, how do you store them? How do you store your vintage quilts? And because obviously my really, really, really old vintage quilts are in preservation boxes, and that's what's sitting here. And what she was saying was, make sure that you keep them out of direct sunlight, which is the best thing to do, keep them out of direct sunlight, but also as well, fold them in different directions every so often. So that's a really, really great thing to do. Yeah, so if you're just joining me now, if you're coming onto TikTok, if you haven't followed me before, please do. And I'm just going to put this one away. Hold on a minute. So yes, I to fold this one. Thank you, Princess, for following me. Thank you. Thank you all. I'm going to put this one away. And then we'll get the next quilt out. You love the colours, Tiana. They are really, really, really wonderful colours, aren't they? Hold on a minute. So they are wonderful colours, aren't they? And they're really, I mean, all of Liberty fabric is absolutely stunning, isn't it, really? So let's put that one up here. Obviously there are more, so we'll see how time goes, and I could actually get a few more out. So then the next one I'm going to show you is this might not be in order of what I made them, okay, but I'm going to show you this one. So this one is our my sampler quilt. So I teach a group called the Crafty Stitchers, and I started it in 2023, so way before I started the So Happy Quilters Association. And last year I designed all the blocks, and then designed like the sampler quilt, and then they've all made amazing quilts, and actually they are all going to be on display at our quilt show. So yeah, so Chrissy, I know you're close, you must come along and support us for our quilt show. And let's see who else is joining us. Hello Queen, welcome to you. Hope you're good. Yes, if you've got any questions you want to ask, any comments, I can see all the comments, and so do ask questions. I'm very, very happy to like stop what I'm like waffling on about and then just answer any questions, so no problems at all. Anyway, so this is my sampler quilt. So there is a label on the back of it, and my label says I designed and made this sampler quilt for my Crafty Stitchers group during made during January and July and put together in August last year, using blue fabrics from Utah, USA by me, and then it's got where I live. And so this one so let me explain a sampler quilt, okay, because you might not know what a sampler quilt is. Well, a sampler quilt is basically when you do lots of different blocks and different processes, different themes, but what I wanted to keep this one all in the same fabric, so I just put it into a blue. So I'm going to talk you through each one. So the first one, which is here, Let me make sure that everybody can see each block. Right, you can all see it. This block here is called a disappearing 9 patch. Disappearing 9 patch is a really, really great block if you just use what it says, 9 patches. So you're going to need 9 5-inch squares. What I will do on one of my lives at some point is, it looks like Jessica's coming in. And Audrey, hello Audrey. So what I will do at some point on my lives is I will show you how to make these blocks for the sample quilt if you want to get involved in that. Also, I do have all the patterns for sale. They are over on my SHQA shops, and there's some in my TikTok shop as well, which you can get. And then the next one is obviously the patchwork crosses. Now this one, as you can see, is a bigger version. This is the 1.5 inch version and of the honeycombs, and I did it in the blues, and it's actually done in hexiform. So we've hexiformed it and then we've appliqued it onto like the front. Then the next one along is the rail fence. The rail fence is a really, really great block because you make it, you can do it in so many different like versions, but this one we did in a 2-inch strip. You can easily do this with jelly roll strips. That's a really great one to do. The other reason why I like the rail fence is because it links to the Underground Railroad quilts, and at one point I will talk to you about that. So then the next one was obviously to teach how to do English paper piecing, and so this is actually English paper piece, this one, and this is what's called a rosette. So first of all, you've got a grandma's flower in the middle, and then you've got an extra line around the edge, and that is what's called a rosette. So then the next one, which is this one, is the wonky star. Now the wonky star is one I love teaching and I love sewing, and in fact one of the quilts I've got for sale in my TikTok shop has got the wonky star blocks in it. Then the next one, hold on a minute. Just realised I'm getting a bit hot. My aircon is off because I don't want to have lots of whooshing noise in the background. So I've better just put my fan on. Right, okay. So then the next one is the tumbling block. This is called a tumbling block, and it's really, really great because again I've done this in hexiform. And it's really great because it's got a really great 3D effect. That's what I love about the tumbling block. And then the one at the bottom, so like I said, there is 12 blocks here, so it's quite a big quilt. The one at the bottom is Siddy quilted, as it SIDDI, Siddy quilted, and I absolutely love doing Siddy quilted, and I'm going to show you a whole quilt that I've made in this, all in different colors. When I made this one, I wanted it to be in the blues, so it's very similar to my quilts that I use as part of my Sewing for Wellbeing talks, so that's that one. The next one is Japanese sashiko one, and again I love teaching Japanese sashiko stitching. Really, really love that. And again, at some point I'm going to do that on one of my lives as well to show you how to do that. I mean, maybe after the quilt show. And then the next one is crazy patchwork. Love a bit crazy patchwork. And then you go down to the bottom, and then of course we did the log cabin, which is there. The log cabin, there is a pattern for that if you want to get that. The next one is, actually I'm going to come back to that in a minute because there's a story behind that one. There's this one, which is the flying geese, and I again love the flying geese because it's so easy to make. It does look complicated, but it's not, and it's so effective. It's so you know, you can lay it out in so many different ways, and also it is part of the Underground Railroad quilt blocks, so you know it is great. Anyway, so let's go back to this one. Why did I skip this one? Well, this one is called the Princess Catherine block. Okay, now I actually designed this all myself. I designed myself because, so there's a bit of a story. Because when I started my Crafty Stitchers group back in 2023, obviously Princess Catherine, everybody knows Princess Catherine, was undergoing, thank you very much Tiana, Princess Catherine was obviously undergoing cancer treatment at the time, and we thought, you know, it'd be really, really nice to make a quilt to send to Princess Catherine. Hello Isaac, welcome to you this evening. So I designed this block, and then all of my Crafty Stitchers, they all made a block each. I put the quilt together and we sent it to Buckingham Palace, and we sent it to Princess Catherine, and we actually did get a letter back. So if you ever want to make anything and send it to the royal family in the UK, you will get a letter back from them to say, thank you so much for it. So that's why it's called the Princess Catherine, and there is actually a pattern for it as well. You know, maybe at some point we might redo it, but we did it, we hand sewed it, we all did it in hexiform. I put them all together, and then what we did was we had it long armed. Actually, it was long armed, and it was really, really lovely. It was long armed. Anyway, so I'll show, I'll try and hold it up again so you could see it. There we are. There it is there. Oh, hang on. There it is there. And I'll show you the back as well. The back is there. So I mean, obviously the back is, you know, because each block was basically quilt as you go, which is another process which I could talk about at some point. That's why I did all the fabric on the back completely different. So this one is going to be on display most definitely at our Brighton Quilt Show in September, and because it's going to be with all the others. So now I'm not actually going to be putting my name on any of my quilts. I've just decided not to do that. There are going to be lots of names on people's quilts, and I've decided just to be completely anonymous. However, as you guys have seen me on my live streams, you'll know which quilts are mine. So I'm going to pop that up there. So then the next one, yeah, now I mentioned obviously two things I absolutely love teaching. One thing I love teaching is Japanese sashiko stitching, and this is my Japanese sashiko stitched quilt, and it has got it's got 9 blocks in it, and so this is my Japanese sashiko stitched quilt. There you go. And I'll turn around the other way as well so you can see it, because I appreciate that obviously this is in the way, and you know, you might not be able to see the whole thing. But again, this one is going to be on display at our Brighton Quilt Show on the 5th and 6th of September at the Brighton Racecourse, and that is that one there. And you know what, I've never ever actually done a workshop learning how to do Japanese sashiko. Not at all. I literally got a template one day. I just got the blue fabric, and I just got a chalk pencil, and I literally started like drawing them, and I love it. I absolutely love. I love stitching it. I mean, I don't really know which is my most favorite one. I mean, I could literally, like, for example, so you're probably, one of the things you might be thinking is, like, how long do these things take you to make? That is one of the things that I do get asked quite a lot. Well, what I can tell you is that these blocks took me 3 hours to do. So the chalking of all of the marks and then the stitching, it takes me 3 hours to do it. So yeah, so you know, if anybody ever wants a commission, me to do a commission of a Japanese sashiko stitched quilt, very happy to do, and I love doing it, absolutely love doing it. And so I do really enjoy going to quilting groups and teaching it and seeing, you know, like the different ones. So if you go onto our website and you go to gallery and you look at I think it's Romsey Quilters, you'll see when I talk with them and all the different blocks that they came out with. And I think also the Downland Quilters as well, I taught it with them, and it's really lovely. But let me show you each block individually as well. So there's 9. So this is the first one. So the first one that I did was using 4 different templates, and then chalking it down, stitching them out, and I did like this border around the edge, because what you can get is you can get like a ruler template, which is really cool. So then I did this one, okay, because actually, in actual fact, I think I might have to crawl upside down, because this is one of my last blocks that I did. If you can see this one, let me fold it in like that. That might help. Hold on a minute. Right, there you go. Oh, that slightly helps, isn't it? So you got this one here. So what I did with this one, because I'd done all the other ones, and then I was thinking, what can I do for the 9th one? And then I thought, okay, I know what I'll do. I literally just drew a very like rough line around, and then I use those templates to chalk it out on the inside and stitch it through. And you stitch it with can't see off to hand, it's in the box down there, but you stitch it with perlé cotton. There is Japanese, we can chat about this again at another time. There's another long presentation that would be, but I stitch it with perlé cotton, because you can stitch it with Japanese cotton, sewing cotton, but obviously you know, there is a more considered end of purchase to that, and you don't necessarily need that. You can just use perlé cotton, which is what I use on all this. So then the next one is that one. And actually, this is another template, but it's a much bigger template. And this one sews up really quickly. So then you've got this one. And this one's quite an interesting one. So actually the template is like this bit here, and then I've moved it around all the way over it. And again, you know, probably in about 3 hours. And I love like having my lap tray on me in the evening with a block, and then my chalk pencil and my template, just like do it all. Now, what I'd say as well is that it's really, really important, if you are going to do this, it's really important to have your wadding on the backing fabric, because that stops it moving. It stops the fabric moving. Otherwise, you know, if you're doing, imagine if you've got this, it's quite thin, this fabric, because it is 100% cotton. But imagine if you've got that and then, you know, it's all moving all over the place. You don't want it to move. So put it on wadding, because that'll stop it moving. So that's another one that I did. And that is with the flower to go to flower. Oh, that's okay, my lovely Leanne. Hopefully I'll see you again later, or see you tomorrow. And so that's the that one that I did. And then the next one is this one. I love doing this one. This one is called the apple core. Love doing the apple core. And then, as you can hear, I love doing all of them. I'm looking at this thinking I just want to get my Japanese sashiko stuff out and start stitching again. And then there's this one which I did, and I decided with this one to do the flower around here and then the curves going over. So that was that one. And then there's this one, and again I used the, oh hang on, there we go. Again I used this template, which is the same as that bigger one, and then I just did one line around the edge on those. And then the last one that I did was this one. This one is a really, really fun one to stitch, because actually you can stitch that fairly quickly. So so yes, you can see the backing that I put on it. So I sashed those together first, and then I put the backing on in one piece, which is there. So that's in fact the backing that I use for it. So this one, it is going to be on display because I'm looking at like all the other quilts that are coming in, and currently this is the only one that's got Japanese sashiko stitching on it. So we will see. We'll see if any others turn up. Anyway, so I'm going to put this one back, and then get a sip of my tea, and then I'll show you the next one. So and I'm going to show you this one. So you remember, obviously, earlier I was saying that I really love Siddi quilting, SIDDI quilting, and so this is all Siddi quilted, and it's all using scrap fabric. And I haven't like thought about the directions of the fabric, the colours of the fabric. I've literally just gone with the flow of the fabric and just stitching it, and I've stitched it with embroidery cotton. So I did it in blocks as well. So let me show you this one. This is actually quite a big one. There you go. This is quite a big one. But yeah, so if you've got any comments, if you've got any questions you want to ask, don't forget, put them in the comments. And if you want to share my live over on TikTok, you're very welcome to. I think you can share it over on Facebook as well if you're watching it on there. And yeah, so this is quite a big one. And again, there is a label, and the label says, I made this hand sewn Siddi quilted quilt using scrap fabrics and embroidery cotton during 2024 and 25, and it's obviously got my name on it. Thank you so much, Teresa, for liking my live. Thank you. And so, I mean, I'll tell you how this started, okay? Because I never started this thinking I was going to make it into a quilt, because I made a bag. I made a Siddi quilted bag, and then I had I'd scrap backing fabric. I'd scrap wadding, and I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to do a bit of like Siddi quilting, and so I did. And then literally I ended up thinking, okay, I've now got 16 blocks. What am I going to do with it? So I sash them together here, and then I join them all together. Now the backing, you won't see all the quilts. Hopefully you'll get back in time, Leanne. Go quickly, Leanne, because I've got the really old ones are in these boxes. There's stories behind these. So yeah, so the backing, you can see the backing of it, because I haven't covered it up, and you can see all the stitching. There is all the stitching. Look, there is all the stitching. And again, because this is something that I teach a lot of, I thought it's best to leave it like that. So then when I take it to quilt groups to show them, I can like show them the back of it. But I really love this one. I really love this one. And again, I don't think there's any quilts on display that are Siddi quilted at our quilt show. So this one is definitely going to be in it. And it is quite big. It is quite big. But I really love this one. I really love this one. All right. So, and also, if you come to Sewing for Pleasure, and we're going to be on the Proud Lounge in March next year at the NEC. I will have this quilt with me, and I'm very much someone who's happy for you to touch my quilts. Honestly, I very much am. Right, so that is that one. As you can see, it is quite big, and it's very, 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 very colourful. Going to fold that one over. Thank you, Teresa, for liking my live. Thank you so much. Right, so now, so don't forget, if you've got any questions about the quilts as we're going along, or if you think, oh, you know, that one, ask that, but they're just, you know, ask whenever. Not a problem at all. I'm going to pop that back into there. They're like, we're in our rightful space now. So I'm only going to show you, I've got this one, and I've got another two that are mine, and the rest we're going to get on to others quilts, because there's quite a lot of history behind some of them. So this is please what you do. What does that mean, Teresa? Hello, Leslie. So this one is one that I've made, because again, this is something that I teach, and this is a flip and stitch process, and you can make this whole quilt in 2 days. You can have the front done and then have it all quilted within 2 days. And so yeah, so if you're coming along to our sewing retreat, we want to make something like this, then you can go away with one of these quilts. So this is all a flip and stitch process. You can see it on the back there. It's basically flip and stitch, but you're quilting as you go, and then all you've got to do is join the blocks together, as you can see on the back. There you go. Oh, actually, if I go that way, this one might be easier. Hold on a minute. Love what you do. Oh, I just thought about Penny, what you do. Oh, you love what I do. That's amazing. Maybe Teresa, maybe you were thinking no quilt police. No quilt police. There's definitely no quilt police in our association, that's for sure. We are literally all about sewing for well-being, and just, you know, enjoying our process of sewing and encouraging each other. And so this is, that's the back of it, and this is the front. And again, I love this one because it's really easy to do. It's made using jelly roll strips, all of your leftover jelly roll strips, and then binded around the edge, and it's really nice. It's really nice. And you're probably wondering, like, what kind of wadding do I use? Well, the wadding that's in this particular quilt and some of my other ones is an 80-20 blend. So I love using so simple wadding, which is an 80-20 blend. Obviously, there's so many different variations of wadding out there that you could use, but this is the one, that's what I like to use. So that is that one. So I'm going to fold, oh, hold on a minute, fold that one over. And it's really colourful as well. I think that's another reason why I like this quilt. It is really, really colourful. And it might be on display. And in fact, this quilt might actually just be on the Proud Lounge, because at our quilt show, you'll be able to go over to the Proud Lounge and see some, and snuggle under some quilts over there. That's the plan for that, which is very super exciting. So I'm going to put that up there. Okay, let me show you the next one. So this one is, I can't believe I've been like 40 minutes talking about my quilts. How exciting. So this one is, so there's a bit of a story behind this one actually, because so this was actually a kit that I got from a company called Alice Caroline. A lot of people might have heard of Alice Caroline because they do a lot of Liberty fabric quilts. And so what happened with this one was, you only got, like, as part of the kit, you just got like the panel and then the backing, but you didn't get the wadding, you didn't get obviously the backing fabric, and it was literally, it was really, really, really thin, the fabric, and it was, and anyway, so I made it, and then I put it together. I'm going to show you. That's that one there, and I'll show you this side as well. There you go. That's that one there. And when I made it, thank you very much, Teresa. I didn't have it long armed for about 3 years, literally, and I don't know why. I mean, it was like sitting on my pile of like quilts that I wanted to get. Sorry, I should hold it out a bit rather than hugging it. I was on a pile of one of my quilts that I wanted to get sorted out, and then I thought, you know what? I was sending off the other quilts to be long armed, and I thought, I'll send this one off as well to be long armed. And do you know what? When I got it back, it literally transformed the whole quilt. And that's what long arming does. It really does transform the quilt. And in fact, the very first quilt that I machine sewed, which was a quilt for my daughter and a log cabin pattern, I put that into belong arms. And then when I went to pick it up from the shop, I was like, wow. I mean, I was just like, I couldn't believe that was my quilt, because it literally transforms it. Anyway, so you can't, I'll show you the backing fabric. That's the backing fabric there, which again is a Liberty fabric, but you can't really see the long arming as such on the back because the blue blends in, but you can see it on the front. Let me show you closely. Look, there you go. Can you see it? So it's got butterflies, it's got like little flowers, and yeah, and I do love this one now. And it's one of those weird ones where I'm actually going to fold it that way. I always like to fold them in a different direction every time I put them back. It's one of those weird ones where, you know, you've made a quilt and then you're like, you know, you just made the quilt top and then you haven't finished it off and then it ends up on a pile. And then you think one day, I really should do something about that. And so this is one of those. This is without one of those. It literally sat. I remember it sitting up on my shelf, like up here for like, what, 3 years. I didn't do anything with it. And then I sent it off last year. It was long arm last year. So let's put that one. Will it go up in there? Go up in there. Let's shove it back in. There we go. You can go there. Right. So then I got one more that I'm going to show you that is mine. And then I'm going to show you the others, the vintagey ones that I've got, and talk to you about those. And then we'll see what the time is. And if there's time, I'll show you 2 quilts that I've made recently that are going off to be long armed. They're going off in 2 weeks' time. So we'll see what the time is. But let's show you the next one. So this is without doubt going to be on display at our Brighton Quilt Show, because it has to be, because it's quite famous now, because this quilt has been featured on the great big massive roadside billboard that we've put up advertising the quilt show, and the Brighton seafront advertising that's gone up. It's got this quilt on it. I'm like, woohoo, okay, it's definitely got to be in the quilt show. And again, so I'm going to show you this one because this is really, it is really, really lovely. Thank you, Teresa, for saying it's beautiful. I love it as well. I do love it. So it is quite big. So I'm not going to show you, I'll be able to show you the whole thing, otherwise I'll be like, I need someone else to hold it up with me. But so this one, as you can see, again, it is all Liberty, and it's called the Green Pathway. So it's got the grandma's flower there, then you've got the extra layer around the edge, which is the rosette. You then got a white border, which makes it really, really stand out. And then you've got the green, which is called the Green Pathway. This is called Betsy. This is the Betsy Green Liberty fabric. And so thank you very much, Teresa. And also Trisha as well. And so anyway, this one, it is quite big, and I did hexiform this one, and there is no wadding in it at all. You just got the hexiform. And I think obviously I know I've mentioned it before, that with hexiform you don't need to put any extra wadding. You can if you want to, but you don't have to, because that's all that you need really for your quilt. So it is really, really big. And actually, so there is a bit of story behind this as well, because again, this came from this one came from Alice Caroline as a block of the month. And what I do is I save up those 12 months to 12 whole packs, and I'll stitch it in one hit over like a period like 3-4 months or something. But I have actually swapped some of the fabrics around. So in the pattern, it isn't actually, as well as the green, although the Green Pathway is like that and the white's like that, it is not like that, because I have moved it around, which is what I do. Anyway, so the other thing as well is, you might have heard of fussy cutting. Fussy cutting is when you do, like, say, English paper pleat, or you do sewing like this. And so you see this one here where it's got like those lines there. Well, fussy cutting is where you would fussy cut the fabric with like special acrylic see-through templates, and then, excuse me, then you would stitch it together so that all the lines go round in one circle. Well, as you can see, I have not done that. I do not do fussy cutting at all, because I think the fussy cutting wastes your fabric. And if you're going to use Liberty fabric, you know, it's like, it's a lot of money to be wasting. And you know, you do get all your little scraps and what have you, but you know, I just don't do it. But you know, but I have seen quilts that have been fussy cut, and they are absolutely stunning. And actual fact, I went to a quilt show last year, and I did see this quilt that was absolutely beautiful, absolutely stunning. It was all fussy cut. And I thought to myself, you know what? The quilt I was working on at the time, which was my Liberty Bridgerton quilt, which is one of the ones down here. I thought that one, I buy, actually, no, not that one, sorry. My Liberty Bridgerton one that's actually the one that's for sale. That's the one that I thought I might do a little bit of fussy cutting in that because I want some of the wording within it. So anyway, so that is that one. So this one will be on display without a doubt at our quilt show. And so yes, I really hope that you'll be able to come along to that. Like I said, it's at the Brighton Racecourse, the 5th and 6th of September. Our tickets are currently discounted until the 29th of August. You can get them on the door, so I can cover it in fabric, and also. Yeah, so we're going to have a whole room. We've got the Premier Hall. The Grandstand Hall is where our suppliers are, and the Premier Hall is where all the quilts going to be on display, and they are going to be some really, really inspiring quilts. Anyway, because this one is definitely going to the quilt show, it needs to be going over there. So I'm just going to pop it over here for a minute. Put you over there. So now I'm going to get a sip of my tea, and then I'm going to show you some of the others that are within our quilt museum. So, like I said, so if you're just joining now and you don't know what we're doing, I'm showing some of the quilts that are in our quilt museum. And when we turned a year old back in March this year, I decided to create the quilt museum that actually goes on tour around the UK, because a lot of people aren't able to get out to quilt shows. They can't get out to groups. They're not able to, you know, access things like that. So we thought it'd be really, really nice to take our quilts on tour around the UK, which is what we're planning to do towards the end of this year and back in into next year, to go and take them to groups. So if you are a quilt group and you're interested in our SHQA Quilt Museum coming and visiting you, then just let me know and we can work that out. You can always email us to hello@shqa.co.uk. Anyway, so I've got one, two, three, four, five, six. I've got six quilts I thought I would show you. There are ones that I've got at different places. I've brought them for a particular reason. I've fallen in love with them for a particular reason. So I thought I'd show you those. So this one is, let me just show you. Looks like that. So it's a little one, as you can see. So I suppose really it is a wall hanging more than a quilt, really, maybe a little baby quilt. But this one is made by a really amazing patchworker called Jenny Raymond. She's really, really well known in the UK for her patchwork. She's really well known for folding fabric, and this is folded. And this one is called Cosmic Happenings, this one. And I actually brought this quilt from her at the Festival of Quilts last year. And sometimes, you know, sometimes some like tutors will sell their quilts and sometimes they don't, and sometimes you'll find that they might sell them as samples. So I saw this one that Jenny had, and I've known Jenny for quite a few years, because actually I used to do her Zoom sewing days back in 2021, and I used to go on some of her sewing retreats as well. So, and I personally made this block and I absolutely love it. So I thought, you know what, when I saw her selling it at Festival Quilts, I thought I'd get it. I don't think it was that much. I think I paid maybe, oh, you're back, Leanne. Well done. You've only missed, I think, maybe two, Leanne. You missed that many. So I think I paid about £30 for this one, and she has actually signed it as well. I always think it's really, really great if you can get, if there's no label on it, and you buy it off the person who's made it, get them to sign it. And you know, then at some point I will make a label for it. Whether this one's going to be on display at our show in Brighton, I don't know at the moment, because it obviously, as you can see, it's quite a small one. So it's possible. It is possible, but I don't really know. But it is really, really lovely. And as you can see, if I show you the colours up front, look. It is really, really lovely, and it's got like all these folds in it, and this lovely beautiful purple fabric, and the purple and the orange side and the orange around the edge. And yeah, it's a very lovely one, and I'm very, very honoured, should I say, to have one of Jenny Raymond's little wall hangers as part of our SHQA Quilt Museum. So I'm just going to pop that one down there, and then the next one, I think I'm kind of going to go in order of age. Okay, right now I'm going to build up to the oldest one, which is probably the yellow one, I think. Actually, we'll see. Anyway, so this is the next one. So when I went to let me just find it the right way up, hold on. I don't actually think there's a right way and a wrong way up of this one. So when I went out to the Londonderry show back in when did I go? May, was it May? And I actually was wonderfully excitedly enough to open the show. This was a quilt that that Margaret Lee, I just think I'm trying to remember her surname, Margaret Lee made, and it's made all out of Irish wool, and it's really, really, really beautiful. I mean, oh my goodness, I'd love to have a jacket made of this. I mean, could you imagine that as a jacket? It's just incredible. I mean, the backing is just like a brown, but it's really lovely. I mean, look at it up close. Look, it's really stunning. And she's actually done like two different lots of quilting on it, because there's like all these cross lines going down, and then she's done this applique over the top of it. So it's really lovely. It is really stunning colours, isn't it, Trisha? Really, really lovely. And as you can see, it is quite small. So this one again might be on display at our show. I don't really know, because obviously we've got a lot of other people's quilts that are going to be there as well. Some of them you're not going to see beforehand. You won't see to the day, because they're not coming until the day we set up. So that is that one. And I do love that one. And also, so she has put one of her little leaflets on the back, actually, because Margaret Lee is starting something called Shirt Tales, and it's saying step into the rich tapestry of Derry's industrial past. Shirt Tales is a unique experience that brings the city's iconic shirt industry to life through stitching, story, and quilt making. And there's a nice little thingy on the back. I definitely will go out to Londonderry again at some point next year, because I'd love to go and see this Shirt Tales exhibition, actually, because it's going to be very interesting. Anyway, so that is that one. Let me just fold that one up. So I'm hoping that you're finding all this really, really interesting. Oh, Derry had the main shirt factory in Northern Ireland. Ah, there you go then. That's obviously what that's all about then, Trisha, isn't it? Yes, because I know that they were doing like some quilts out of the shirts as well. I think that's what they were gonna be doing as part of it, I think. But anyway, but yeah. So yeah, so I really hope you are so far finding this really interesting. And and not only interesting but also inspiring as well, because there's so many different quilts that you can make, you know, from scrappy quilts to really precise quilts to amazing quilts. Nettie says quilts are beautiful, so interesting to hear the backstories. Oh, there's loads of backstories. So then this is another one. So you might have seen this on a live before, because I did show it a little while ago, and it does keep popping up as one of my favorite quilts. And I'll tell you the story behind this one. Okay, so last year I went out to Phoenix, Arizona, to go to a quilt show out there, and I went to this place called the hang on a minute, let me try and remember, the Brass Armadillo Antique Mall, and it literally is this massive place of all this antique stuff. And there was a fair few quilts in there as well, which I wasn't expecting. Leanne, you always want to make a quilt, but your bears take over your sewing room. You'll get there. You want to save all the scraps, Leanne, and then you can make a city quilted quilt out of all the scraps. That would be nice. So anyway, so I saw this quilt. Now the first thing I when it was there, it was like folded over, and I was there with my friend Laurie, and I thought, oh, let's have a look. The first thing I noticed of this quilt was the fact that it's got this bit in the back. It's got like a sleeve across the back, which means at some point it would have been on display somewhere. I was like, oh, that's interesting. So then I found the labels, and there is actually two labels on it. There's two labels. So the first label, they're slightly different. The first label says started in 2005 and completed in 2009. 4 years it took to do this quilt. It says Soldier's Quilt, made by Mary Lou Ward. This was the first quilt I made during the PAQA Civil War study. The PAQA stands for the Phoenix Area Quilt Association. It was patterned after an authentic quilt shown in American Patchwork and Quilting, and used for soldiers' cots when in camp, and also when they were wounded. I made mine slightly larger to accommodate a twin. Well, anyway, so there's a second label, and the second label says right, Second label says, this quilt was started during the PAQA Civil War study, patterned after an authentic quilt shown in American Patchwork and Quilting magazine and used for soldiers' cots in camp or hospitals for the wounded, made by Mary Lou Ward, 2005 to 2008, Phoenix, Arizona. And so yeah, so I thought that's really, really interesting. Yeah, so Heidi over on YouTube is saying you saw the video when you went to go there. I know, it's amazing. So this one is what I brought last year, Heidi. That is not what I got this year. That's why I had to go back. When I went back there this year, I was like, I just had to go back. And luckily I do have a friend that lives in Phoenix, Arizona, so that kind of helps. But and my lovely friend Laurie, who is an incredible artist, by the way, so go and check out Laurie Duncan. Anyway, so what I did was I put my own label next to it, because even though it's already got a label, I thought I would put my own label on it. So if this ends up somewhere, you know, not with me in the future, then it's got a little bit more history, because that's the thing about quilts. It's about adding more heritage and more history to it. So it says the Mary Lou Ward quilt, purchased by me, February 2025 at the Armadillo Antique Mall, Phoenix, Arizona. Now, I didn't put how much it was because I couldn't remember. And I think maybe I paid about $80. I can't remember. Anyway, so let's open it up. Ah, chirpy's chirping. It's chirpy chirp. Has he stopped chirping? Nearly. There he goes. Right. So anyway, so this is what the quilt looks like. Okay, I'll show you what the quilt looks like. Now this one is most definitely going to be on display at our Brighton Quilt Show because it's so lovely. I'm trying to find the shorter bit. Hold on. Open it. This is the quilt. This is the quilt. And it's really lovely. Now the thing is, so this is called a signature quilt, okay, because in these squares in the middle, there is loads of people's writing. Every single square has writing in it. So I'm just going to show that up like that. There you go. And so what Mary Lou Ward was doing, and this is what's incredible. So you think, you know, 2005 to 2009, it took her like 4 years to make the quilt. Well, it is quite common, you know, to take quite a few years to make a quilt. But what she was doing was, lovely Mary Lou Ward from Phoenix, Arizona, was going on sewing retreats. That's what she was doing. And I absolutely love what's inside it. So this one says Tony White, gang leader 2009. Like, gang leader, that's interesting. And then there's another one that says Jan Dustermar's girl gang 2009. And there's, let me see if I might be able to find it. I might not, because there's loads on here. And this one says Kaylin, I can't read that surname, a Civil War Study Group 2006. And then there's this one, which is Roberta Bora, PAQA Civil War Study Group 2005. There's another 2005. Oh, this is the one that I absolutely loved, okay, because it says Stephanie Higgins, Bear Cabin Lodge. Bear Cabin Lodge 2005. Woohoo! And then there was another one. See if I can find it. It actually does say the word retreat on it. Bear Cabin Lodge. One of them definitely says the Bear Cabin Retreat. One of them says Bear Cabin Retreat. So quite clearly what she was doing was going, can't read that one. Cat, that's cat. Some of them are actually empty as well, like that one. There's no name in it. So I suppose maybe she got to this point where she's like, you know, I'm going to get this quilt. Oh, this is the one I wanted to read you. This is the one. Maybe she got to this point where, you know, she was like, I just want to get this quilt put together now. I've been going on sewing retreats for like 4 years, and I think it's time it got put together. So this one says Dawn Akamoto, 7th of September 2005, Bear Cabin Retreat. Bear Cabin Retreat. I want to go on the Bear Cabin Retreat. I mean, do you want to go on the Bear Cabin Retreat? Let's go. It just, doesn't that sound amazing? But the quilt itself is absolutely wonderful. Okay, and it's so beautiful. So the fabric that she's used is fabrics that are authentic Civil War fabrics, and also the pattern is an authentic, like she says in her label, the Civil War pattern that she's used. Now so I don't know if you've heard of the Underground Railroad quilts. Well, obviously there is a lot of debate over whether it is a real thing or whether it's not, or whether it's made up. I would love to believe, so go and research Underground Railroad quilts, because I would absolutely love to believe that it is a true story, and I'd love to think the quilters were helping people out. And need to go to bed. Yeah, because the bears are not there. Absolutely, Heidi, absolutely. And so I really thought, I'd love to actually find an Underground Railroad quilt, and obviously, which is probably not possible, okay, because obviously they were from the 1860s. And anyway, when I did some research, I found that actually what quilters were doing during Civil War time was they would make a quilt like this that would be sold to fund the Underground Railroad quilts, which is like really, really fascinating. So actually it has like a really, really great link to it. So yeah, so this one is definitely going to be on display at our Brighton Quilt Show. You'll be able to see that one. I'm really looking forward to that. And don't forget, we are going to be live streaming the whole thing over both days, so you'll be able to see it anyway. We'll see what we get up to. So I'm just going to fold this one up, because otherwise, if you don't kind of like tidy them up as you go, you end up with a huge, great big pile. Huge, great big pile. Who doesn't love a pile of quilts? Let's just shuffle that one. All right. Hang on a minute. Yeah, so it's always really good with your quilts to like get them out and fold them into different directions. That is what Kate Hubert told me, who's a curator at the American Museum of Gardens. She said to me, always get them out and refold them in different directions, because it takes the pressure off the stitching and the fabric that it's like when it's been folded. She was also saying as well is that when you fold it, you could through here put like tissue paper to stop that pressure. And when it's like that is another thing you could do. And Tiana said, well, you never know where one will end up. Absolutely, that is the thing. So yeah, so this is what I was going to say. Actually, kind of reminded me, Tiana, actually, that if Mary Lou Ward from Phoenix, Arizona is watching this on social media, or you see it, or somebody tells you about it, please let me know, because I'd love to meet up with you, and I'd love you to know that your quilt ended up in my SHQA museum over here in the UK. So the next one I'm going to show you, which technically is that the oldest one? This is the oldest one. No, it's technically not the oldest one. So we're now going to go a bit older, okay, in time. I'm just going to push that over. Now, the reason why this is in this bag at the moment is because actually, I haven't found you for a while, watching from Iowa in USA. Amazing, Teresa, amazing. I was actually just talking about a quilt I got from Phoenix, Arizona. So let me just move my bit from off. So now this one here, this is actually a really, really old quilt, okay, but now I am going to be getting a preservation box for it because of how old it is. At the moment, it's just been kept in this, but I'm trying to keep it out of like sunlight and dust and stuff like that. I'm not going to get the whole out. It's massive, and it is a kind of a one where if I bring my quilt museum to you, or if you come here to look at them, then I would get them all out, but I would need like another pair of hands to get it out. And it is really, really old. It is absolutely stunning, this quilt. I would try and show you as much as I possibly can, and then I'll tell you. So this one I got from, again, when I went back to the Brass Armadillo Antique Shopping Mall, which is in Phoenix, Arizona, and I got this in March this year. And so on my YouTube channel, there is a video of when I actually found it and how I found it, and and looking at it and everything else. So you can go over and watch that video, because it's a really, really great one. And this is really, really beautiful. So it is massive. I mean, this is probably what, 1/3 of, you can see how big it is. Look, 1/3 of it. And it's also very heavy. It is very heavy. So I'm just going to lay it up on here. So so you can see. Right. So there is a label on it. In fact, there's 2 labels on it. Let me tell you. Let me find the labels, and I can tell you what that says. Hang on a minute. If I can find the labels, that is. The labels. Where are you, labels? Oh, here we are. Okay. So there's 2 labels on it. Here are the labels on the back. So the backing is all yellow fabric. And the label says, made by Emma Christine Johnson Nelson, 1871 to 1874. So that's how old this quilt is. It's from 1871 in Seattle, WA, between 1924 and 1950. It was owned by her daughter, Helen Nelson Fleming. And it's got her date of birth. And so so obviously it's made by Emma Christine Johnson, and then it was looked after by her daughter. So I don't really know what happened to the quilt from, obviously, because it's got 83. Oh no, it's got 30. No, that's not. It's 33. So it's got to 1950. So I don't know what happened to the quilt from 1950. So when I got it from the antique shopping mall in March this year, but I am going to put another label on it, and I will definitely put it on it to show that, you know, the history of when it's come to me. And then there is also another label, which I'm just going to quickly read Teresa's comments. The squares are so small, a lot of time into. Oh, absolutely. I mean, there must. I mean, it must have taken hours. I mean, you know, days, years. It's incredible. So the squares are 1 inch. They're 1 inch squares. But there is another label on it as well. And the second label on it says, it's got a registration number, and then it says Quilt Heritage, and it says Washington State, recording quilts and quilt makers. The block is a Philadelphia pavement. So that's what the block is. The block is a Philadelphia pavement. And I am, like I know, as you know, I have had quite a busy couple of months recently, and I got this back in March, and I'm going to be doing lots of research on this. I want to do research on this because I want to, I want to know more about the ladies, because I should be able to find them, hopefully doing some ancestry record searches and stuff like that. But anyway, so yes, it's really lovely. And we have actually had the quilt out on a bet, and we've studied it all over it, and none of these blocks are the same. Yes, there is some of the fabric in it that's the same, that's been moved around, but none of it, no Philadelphia pavement block is the same. And so and I think the fabrics are from feed sacks, like flour sacks and feed sacks, because it looks like that kind of fabric, and it even feels like that kind of fabric. And then the backing with the yellow is one complete piece of yellow backing. We don't, because I've had a good look at it with my good friend Susan as well, who's Susan who you saw her quilts last night, and we've had a good look at it, and we don't think there's any wadding in it, because you can't feel anything. All you can feel is just the backing fabric and then the front fabric. And also it has most definitely been all hand sewn, which is just, just incredible, really. It's such a beautiful quilt. Unfortunately, this is not going to be on display at our Brighton Quilt Show, because it's just too old to be hanging out, and it's just I don't want to risk it. So, but if you ever wanted to come and see it, I would bring it out on tour to come to visit some groups with it. And when I do some more research on it, I'm hoping to do a whole YouTube. My plan is to do a whole YouTube video all about this quilt and the more history of it that I find out. But it is really lovely. But like I said, I only literally got it in March this year. So yeah, so it's beautiful, isn't it? It's really beautiful. So if you've got any comments you want to make, or any questions you want to ask, then just fire them on over, and I will do my best to answer them. So at the moment, it is living in here. It is going to be going into a preservation box, but I probably can't do that until after the quilt show now, because I've got so much stuff. It's going to the quilt show, and I don't have room for another preservation box right now, but it will end up in one of those. So I'm just going to get a sip of my tea, and then I'll show you the ones that are in the boxes, which you've probably been. So what are we? We're just over an hour. Yes, I could show you the two that we'll do that after. Anyway, so I'm going to show you the ones that are in the two boxes. Okay, so in actual fact, there is actually two in this box. There's two. I'm going to show you this one last, because this is the one that I'm really excited about showing you and telling you. Okay, so you're probably wondering about the box itself. So the box, it's actually a wedding dress box, because wedding dress boxes are really good for quilts, because they're preservation boxes. They does everything that you need it to, like preserve something. And so Actually, my own wedding dress from 17 years ago is in a box just like this, and I, loved it. So I went back to the same company when I started with these quilts. I'm thinking I really need preservation boxes for them, and they are called the Empty Box Company. That's what they're called, Empty Box Company, and they can make them. Obviously, they're in the UK. They can make them any size that you want. You can just tell them what size you want, and they can make you that size. So. Yeah, the Empty Box Company. There you go. Oh, the website is emptybox.co.uk. That's who they are. So if you want a box for your quilts, then that's who you want to go to. So the first one that I'm going to show you is, I'm just going to be a little bit precious with my quilts. I'm going to make sure my tea is well away. And so this one is absolutely stunning. What I'm going to do, hello Amanda. Amanda's just joined us. I'm just showing off my vintage quilts right now, Amanda. I'm going to put it on here and I'm going to show you. Hello. So this one is called a Durham quilt. It's a Durham quilt. I don't know if you've ever heard of Durham quilting, but it's a really fascinating history behind Durham quilting. Because mostly it's a whole cloth. Anyway, so this particular quilt I brought from a lady off of eBay, and I got all of she sent me all the history of it. Now this quilt was made in 1916, so it's 110 years old, and it was made for a bride getting married. It was made by her grandmother. So imagine how old what year that the grandmother was born if this was made in 1916. The love that's got into this quilt is just incredible, and it's really lovely. So obviously it has faded because it has actually been used quite a lot. And the lady who you can kind of see the stitching there, look, the lady who I brought it from, she gave me all the history of the family, so I don't need to be doing any research into the family history like I've done with some of my other ones, and because she did it for me, which is wonderful. But the history of Durham quilting is amazing. So Durham is obviously a part of the UK up north, and way back, like in the 1800s, it was one of the most deprived parts of the UK. And then what they would do is they would have little like sewing bee sessions where the ladies in the village, they'd all put their money in together to buy all the fabrics that they needed to be able to make a quilt, and then they would all sit and they would quilt it together. And one really famous Durham quilter is called Amy Eames. Unfortunately, she's not with us anymore, but Amy Eames is really well known for Durham quilting. She made her daughter a Durham quilted wedding dress. I mean, you can imagine having a wedding dress made out of that. And actually, it is the only quilted wedding dress that's in a museum, and it's in the Living Museum, the Beamish Living Museum that's up north. And so anyway, so the way Durham quilting is done, it's done on massive frames. And so they would obviously all get together and they would be like doing their little stitching. And a lot of, there is a really great, I think, I'm sure it's on YouTube. There's a really great video all about Amy Eames and about Durham quilting, and it shows how she did it. And they did have templates, but they had like metal templates that they would use, and also they would use simple things they got around the home for their patterns, like coins. I mean, like the feathers, I think if I can find it, they would use like something like, I don't know if you can see, like, oh yeah, you can, yeah, sorry, here. So you can see here that this is like a feather shape, and so they would create that using a coin. So they would put the coin at the top and then they would draw it going up, and then obviously they would stitch it. So it is all hand sewn. But just see what Tiana says. We never know where, oh, it's read that before. Thank you so much for sending a rose, and thank you for following me as well. If you want to share my live, please do. Yeah, so it's really lovely. Anyway, so what happened was, with the back in the 1800s, was that, you know, the most kind of work, if you like, in that area was obviously farming, you know, and obviously like through the winter, you know, that would have been quite difficult, so money would have been quite tight for those people back in like the middle of the 1800s. And then what happened was, the government, the UK government, got to realise that actually what these women were doing was they were making these amazing quilts, and then so they'd all put their money in to make one quilt. They would all sit there and stitch it, and then they would sell it, and obviously they would divide up the profits of the sale of the quilt that would go to all the families in like the village. And so then they the government got to realize that, hang on a minute, you know, they're this is really, really good what they're doing, because they're actually supporting for themselves financially, you know, and being able to work, you know, doing work from home. And so the government actually set up a whole quilt department in the UK. And so what they did, but obviously it's for Durham, but what they did was they would actually then fund the quilting bees to have the fabrics for everything they needed, and then they'd be able to carry on making them and actually profiting from that. I mean, isn't that incredible? I think that's why I love I love the history of Durham quilting. I mean, one of my big aims is definitely to go to the Beamish Museum up north. I'd love to try and get up there next year. That's what I'd love to try and do. And because there is actually a Joseph's Quilter's Cottage up there apparently. But this one is absolutely stunning. I'll see if I can hold it out a little bit more just to show you. But it is very heavy. It is very, very heavy. So look, can you see that? So you can see how obviously it's faded around the edge because it has been laying on her bed. There you go. There you go. But unfortunately, again, this one is not going to be on display. I'll show because, you know, it's so old, 110 years old. You know, I think it's not worth the risk. But it is really, really, really beautiful. Really, really beautiful. And there is, if you go on to our SHQA.co.uk website, you click on Quilt Museum, you will see more photos of this quilt. You'll see it all laid out, you'll see it close up, and more information about like the size of it, the fabrics of it. That is all on there, so you'll be able to see that. So I'm just going to fold this one over and show you what else is in the box, because there is another one in the box which I kind of thought, yeah, it needs to go in a box because it is quite old. I'm just going to get another sip of my tea. Hold on a minute. But yeah, but I really hope you're enjoying this, seeing all the clips. Hello, Daisy. Hello, hope you're good. So I am good evening. I'm just showing off my vintage quilts tonight, Daisy. So 110 years old, yeah, it'd be faded around the edge too. Yeah, you'd be faded around the edges. Yeah, it is absolutely is, Daisy. So I'm just about to hello AI, welcome to you. AI UX. So anyway, so there is another quilt in here, but what I'm going to tell you as well is that the lady who made the girl who not made that quilt, but who was gifted it as a wedding present. So I'm just gonna the Durham quilt one. The one who was gifted it, her name was Emma. Okay, her name was Emma. And actually the fabric that I got on this box, made onto this box, is actually it's one of the Emma range of fabric from Morris. What's his name? Thingy Morris. My brain's completely gone. You really enjoying the live? Oh, thank you so much, Leanne. Thank you so much. I know I'm full of information, Leanne, when it comes to quilts. William Morris, that's it. So this is like a William Morris fabric, and it is an Emma one. And the weird thing is that another quilt I'm going to tell you all about. Okay, you need to get your tea prep for this, because it's going to be the next one's going to be not this one, but the one after is going to be quite a long story. And she's also an Emma. Anyway, so let me show you the other quilt that's in here. And I think what I might do is I might shuffle them round, because obviously, so what is in the box as well is acid-free tissue paper, because you don't want anything, you know, you want to protect the quilt as much as you can. So this is the one that I'm going to show you. I'm just going to do a bit of a shuffle. You can go back in there. Going to pop that back in there, pop that back in there, give it its little layer of the tissue paper. Yeah, so on one of my videos that's on YouTube, which is when I went to the American Museum and Gardens to see the Gee's Bend exhibition, you really should watch that video, because I get to interview Kate Hubert, who I mentioned earlier, is the curator of the American Museum of Gardens, and they've got this amazing quilt storage room. Oh my goodness, it gives you absolute quilt storage goals. It really does. And I often look around here and I think, okay, how could I achieve that in here? Because I think that's what I'd really would like to do. Can I ask if you washed the quilts when you got them? Did you use it? Oh no, so absolutely not. Nettie, I've not washed them at all. No way. I'm never going to. Never going to. I think it's too much of a risk, but no. So anyway, so the next one that I got is this one. Okay, so this one came off of Marketplace, and actually the lady that I got it from was not, she was actually an antique dealer. Okay, and I saw it on Marketplace and I thought, I really like that quilt. I really like that quilt. And I did a bit of like a bartering with her, because she did have it for a bit of a considered purchase, so shall we say. And on it it does have a little label. So the label that's on it said the 1880s post-Civil War marked Portsmouth, USA, shoe fly pattern, 2 meters by 2 meters, hand-tied red print backing. So I thought, okay. So then I'm going to try and open it out to show you. Well, I'm definitely going to open it out to show you. Oh, hang on. I just realized there's a little card that came with it. Put that there. I'll lay it up on here. Because so remember the label said 1880s. Okay, it said 1880s, and it said shoe fly pattern. Well, it's not a shoe fly pattern at all. It is a monkey wrench pattern. It's a monkey wrench pattern. And also this again is a signature quilt. And it says, remember the label said 1880s. Well, it's not 1880s. It's actually got 1860 on it. So this is actually my oldest quilt, and that is why straight away it went straight into the preservation box, because it's like, whoa, I need to preserve this one. And it is absolutely stunning. Let me just turn it over. I mean, considering I have a feeling that it might have been made by like a group of quilters from that worship together. That's what I think. That's where it's come from. Because there is, like, in these squares here, there is, not in all of them, but in most of them there is writing. Like this one up here, you can just about read. Yeah, that one says Portsmouth, USA. It's got AH at the bottom. But anyway, so the other thing as well is, so again, do go to our website, click on Quilt Museum, because there's lots of photos of this one up close. Just look for the 1860s monkey wrench pattern, a quilt, and you'll see it. And I mean, look at it. It is stunning. There isn't any wadding in this at all. You can feel that literally it is just the front with the back, and there is some writing in it. I mean, what my plan is to because this one I did only get this year, but my plan with this one is to most definitely do lots of research on, like, Portsmouth in America, to try and find it. I mean, I do know as well that if you study the Underground Railroad story, you will see that Portsmouth was one of the stop-offs on the Underground Railroad, where the enslaved people went. It was one of the stop-offs. And so, you know what? Is it an Underground Railroad quilt? Maybe. I don't know. I mean, it's got 1860 on it. It's in a monkey wrench pattern. Monkey wrench was actually one of the blocks from that was on the that was put out to help enslaved people to escape, to go to freedom. And so it is possible, because there were lots of people that were from worship together, that did actually get involved in making the Underground Railroad quilt. So you know what, and obviously quite often as well, a lot of these things do get mislabeled, and the fact that it's got 1880 on it, and if you think that's after emancipation, then it might not be an Underground Railroad quilt. But the fact that we found 1860 on it, which makes it 20 years before, potentially, I don't know. But but either way, I absolutely love it. And I just spotted in the camera, there was one. Where was the one? There was one I was just seeing one. I thought, oh, I saw that one. But yeah, it's really, really, really lovely. And I would definitely, like with this one, Nettie, you're asking about wash it. I wouldn't wash it. I absolutely would not wash it. Oh my goodness me! Turn on reactions. What's that about? I don't know what that was. Something weird came up at turn off reactions or something. But I definitely wouldn't watch this one. It is so absolutely stunning. And I have, like, had it all laid out on a bed and had a proper look at it. But I will be doing some more research on it when I've got time, probably after our quilt show. And again, this one would not be on display at our show, because it's just not worth the risk. I think I'd have to have, like, a bodyguard standing by it to protect it, I reckon. But yeah, but if you haven't heard of the Underground Railroad quilts before, do go and research that, because like I said at the very beginning, I'd love to think that it was a thing, and I'd love to think that there were quilters that were helping enslaved people, you know, to move up to safety. You know, I really love the story. I love the story. So what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to pop it back in the box, and then I'm going to show you the next one, because the next one, you're going to see how excited I am about the next one, because there is, and hopefully we're an hour and 25 minutes in, so hopefully you're finding this all very interesting, and you're not thinking, oh, we're going to do something else. But I will show you the next one. I'm just going to put my little tissue paper on it, and we're going to pop it back on there, and I'm going to get the other one out. I wonder if I can put it back, actually. I don't know. Let me see. Let me get the other one first of all. Oh, let's go in there. Let's go in there. Yeah, so that box is very, very heavy. Very heavy. Actually, do you know what? I think I'm going to leave this one here, because I think what I might do is I might move you guys like that a little bit. There you go, because then you'll be able to see better. Because this is a really, really interesting one. So I'm going to start from the beginning, okay? So this is actually going to become a whole film. Without a doubt, the story behind what is inside here is going to become a whole film. I'm sure it is, because this is like, if you got my newsletter today, you read about my 2-year project that I'm working on. Well, this is my 2-year project, and I am getting to the nearly to the end of the story. So it all started, brace yourself and get your coffee, honestly, because you really want to, you know, strap yourself in for this journey, that's for sure. So it all started when I brought a very random piece of patchwork, or I saw it on eBay, and I just thought, you know what, it's so lovely, and I absolutely loved it. So I messaged the lady and I said, you know, look, I'd love to put an offer in for it. What you kind of after? And she said, well, you know, you can have it for £40. So I was like, I love that. So I got it anyway. When I got it through, so she sent it in an A5 envelope folded up, right? That's how it came to me. And then when it arrived, I opened it and I thought, oh my goodness me. I couldn't stop looking at it. I couldn't stop reading it and feeling it and touching it. And I realized it was from 1892. That's when it was made, in 1892. And I know that because of the papers that's in the back of it. So let me get it out and I'm going to show you it. Hold on a minute. So I do actually take this to quilt groups, and I do talks on it. Hello, Queen. I'm very good. Thank you so much. What am I doing today? I'm just going to stop for a minute. I'm actually showing all my vintage quilts at the moment, Queen. And you've literally come in about an hour and a half in. And so you're literally probably at a good point to come in. So I'm just about to show you a really, really vintage quilt that I've got. So I do take it to quilt groups, and I do show it at quilt groups. And I also do have gloves. So I do have preservation gloves that I do ask people to wear if they want to touch it. Have you heard of, oh, hang on a minute, Kanasagi? No, I haven't heard of that, Sharon. Is that a type of quilting? I can look at that one later. So anyway, so let me show you what was in that envelope when it came. It was this. That's what was in it. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to get it out and I'm going to lay it. Oh, sorry about that. That was my fan that was just catching in the back of the paperwork. Anyway, I'm going to lay it up on top of here. Put that there, put that there, so you can all see it. Oh, Japanese art quilting. Oh, I think I have. Yes, I think I know of it, Sharon, but in a different I think it's like a borrow stitching. I only do Japanese sashiko stitching, but I've never done that kind of one. But anyway, so right, okay. So we're going to come back to it. So this is what was in the box, and I looked at it and I thought to myself, how how, where has all this fabric come from in 1890? And when I looked at the back, and the reason I know it's from 1890s, because when you turn it over, it's got all the papers in the back. There's all the papers, and the papers are incredible because it's got the girl's name in it. It's got, her name was Emma Isabel Sykes, and she was 13 when she made this. And it's got lots of wonderful words like banish, and it's got words. So there's her name. I know you can't see it, but there's her name, Emma. And it's also got all of her numbers, and it's got the dates. It's got 1890 there. It's got the year. It's got December, and it's also got like ABC. It's got 1, 2, 3. So I looked at it and I thought, okay, so this girl must have come from quite a wealthy family, because I don't know if you've ever heard of cross writing. Have you Googled it? Oh, I've done lots. I've absolutely done lots, Sharon. I'm going to come on and tell you all about her. So yeah, so I don't know if you've ever heard of cross writing. So what used to happen in Victorian times was that if you were, obviously quite wealthy families would have paper, but if you were wealthy, then you would you'd write your writing that way, and then you'd write it that way. So that's what cross writing is. But if you were super wealthy, then you didn't do cross writing because you didn't need to, because you had the money to have paper. And this does not have any kind of cross writing in it. So I thought, okay, she must have had been very wealthy family. Now what I know as well is that, I'm going to show you some photos because I have a whole folder on it. What I know as well is that the girl who made it, like I said, was called Emma Isabel Sykes, and I brought it from her great grandmother, who was also called Isabel. And I've got a photo. I'm just going to see if I can find it to show you. Hold on. It's in here somewhere. Got loads and loads of stuff. Loads and loads of stuff. Oh, here we are. Right. So there's a picture there. You can see the picture there of what's called the 4 Isabels. And I'm just going to come forward and show you a little bit. Look, so you can see it there. There's the 4 Isabels. So the baby, that's the baby here, that is who I brought the patchwork from. And you love stories like this, do you, Sharon? So do I. Honestly, absolute rabbit hole, Sharon. So this lady here, that is Emma Isabel Sykes. And so it's called the 4 Isabels. And anyway, so I knew, I knew her name. When I got this through, and I thought to myself, I looked at it and I thought, there's a backstory here. There's an absolute backstory here, without a doubt. And I messaged the lady that I brought it from, who was called Isabel, and I said to her, have you ever studied the pictures in the back? Have you ever looked at the fabric? She said, absolutely not. She said all she remembers is she remembers it being passed down through like the families, and they all had it on display. Well, anyway, so I'm just going to turn it back over. So that's the front of it. Okay. Now, all of the black little tiny squares, they are 1/2-inch squares there. They are all velvet. And then all of this fabric here, it's all different fabrics like satins, and there's a bit of linen, there's a bit of cotton. I mean, in all honesty, it's mostly satin. And I thought to myself, how on earth has a girl, okay, they're wealthy, but how on earth has a girl in the 1800s got hold of so much fabric to be able to do this kind of amazing patchwork? Well, that is when I went down a bit of a rabbit hole, because I started researching the family. I literally signed up to ancestry.com, and I started getting I researched all of the family and the articles, and it turned out that the family, because the family were based in Huddersfield, okay, and the family were primitive Methodists, and it turned out that the Sykes, Sykes, Sykes is his surname, were very well known for their machinery that went into the mills across the north. And that kind of made sense to me, because I thought to myself, yeah, obviously being primitive Methodists, they would never have agreed to the conditions in the mills, in the the working conditions in the mills. So they would never have had mills themselves, and no, they didn't. They made the machinery that went into the mills. And so I then obviously started researching the parents really, and so the parents, so that her dad was called Ezra Sykes and her mum was obviously called Isabel Sykes, and I'm going to show you a photo, hold on, of this is the kind of machinery that there's the machinery. This is the kind of machinery that John Sykes and Son, so that's the granddad of, so that John Sykes and Son is her great grandfather, and they used to make this kind of machinery, and I also managed to find a few little like receipts as well that I managed to find on eBay, which are from the 1900 the 1904 and 1901, which is incredible, and so anyway, so they made the machine. Then of course, then I was thinking, okay, well, my original school of thought on all the situation was that that's how she's got all this fabric, because if they're making the machine, if they've got the machinery, right, and they're making all the fabric, then obviously there's always offcuts. And I like to think, okay, she's a girl after my own heart. She loves using scrap fabric. She loves making like something amazing. And then that was one of my schools of thought on it. And then I thought there is actually another one, because there was a photo that was sent to me. So there was something really, really sad that happened, because when she was 13, I'm going to take the picture out, because otherwise you can't really see it, because it glares a lot with the screen. Is that the one I want to show you all? Hold on a minute. So this is like one of my folders. I've literally got like a whole Dropbox situation on this, with all of the all of the photos, because I've got a lot of photos. I've got a lot of photos. Anyway, so what happened when she was 13 was that her mum sadly died, and so the dad, Ezra Sykes, was left with seven daughters, and they actually did have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They actually did have 8 children. They had a son. Hello, Thomas. But sadly, the son died in infancy, and so when the mother died, he was left with 7 daughters. So here is a picture of, I'm going to show you, of Ezra. That's Ezra Sykes there. Sorry, that's Ezra Sykes there. And these are all the daughters. And this one up here, that is Emma. So that is Emma here, who made that patchwork. That is her. Now look at the dresses. Look at the dresses. It's really interesting, isn't it? Because they're in morning dress. And when you look closely, I do actually have other pictures of this without that circle around her. But when you look at it really closely, you see what you see they're wearing is black velvet and taffeta. Well, what's in that? There's black velvet and there's black taffeta. So actually, what I now believe is that this was made potentially out of her mother's dresses after her mother died, because we know it's made bang on when her mother died, but because of the papers that's in the back of it, that all the dates are the same. And then also, the velvet more than likely is from those. I'll hold it up again. It more likely is from those dresses, and also these ones. So I mean, it might be the case that it is the scrap fabrics that came from the mill machinery, but it is also possible that this is her mother's dresses that she made it out of. So it actually could be, yeah, exactly, a keepsake. Absolutely. I mean, that's what I now believe. And also, when I've spoken, so Isabel, she's called Susan Isabel. So you remember the photo I showed you of the 4 Isabels and she's the baby. Well, obviously she's the one that I brought it from. She said to me in like one of my I've had like WhatsApp conversations with her. She said to me that she remembers going to her grandmother's house and seeing this on display. And what she said to me is, she said, look at the middle of it, because there is a hole. And yes, there is. And there literally is a hole down in literally one of these squares in here. And she said that's because it used to be on a coffee table, but on glass, and it used to have glass over it, and it was on display. So that's the other thing as well, is that if this was on display by the grandmother, so that basically that's the daughter of the girl that made it, then potentially that it is a memory keepsake, because otherwise why would they have displayed it all of those years? You wouldn't possibly display it just because of a bit of patchwork, but I think it is so special. But there is more of a story. So hold on, I'm just going to say hello to Just Epic Freddie from Cornwall. Hello, Cornwall. Hello, Freddie. Hope you're good. I'm going to get a sip of tea, then I'll tell you more of the story. So one thing that I really, really want to do. So this, like I said, this has been so far. This has been a 2-year journey because I have done a little bit more. Why did she sell it? Oh, okay. So the reason why she sold it, Sharon, is basically because the Isabel. Susan Isabel sold it because she hasn't got any children herself. She's got nobody to pass it to, because this is what's interesting as well, because it kind of ties in with why did she sell it, and why then, you know, you're thinking there's 8, I mean there's like 7 daughters, and you know, surely there's got to be loads of grandchildren, surely, you know, but there isn't, because Emma was the only girl out of all of those to get married. She's the only one to have got married. And you know what? I had this again. I've had these conversations with who I brought it from, is Susan Isabel. And I had this conversation, and I've said to her, you know, I had this very idyllic view, you know, like when you watch like Pride and Prejudice and you know, Sense and Sensibility, and you see them, you know, that was written, and then you see them and they come along as like suitors to marry your daughters. And it is astonishing. It is, Sharon. Honestly, it's really, really astonishing. And but you know, like, so I had this really idyllic view that, you know, they're all like coming along, and you know, oh, I want to marry your daughter, and then like Ezra Sykes is going, no, you're not marrying my daughter. You're not good enough for my daughter. And I always really wanted to believe that, you know, that Emma was the real feisty one, and Emma was the one who was like, I am getting married, Dad, and I do want to get married, blah blah blah. Well, it turns out that actually my view of it wasn't right, and I'll tell you why. The Ingalls family have no living descendants either. Wow. The family, oh wow, isn't that mad? So the thing is, what's really, really sad is, so I told you about how the dad, they had this massive company making all this machinery, so they were quite wealthy. We know that they were wealthy because of what they did. They were real philanthropists around Huddersfield as well. They built Sunday schools, they built chapels, they built other places like for their workers, and so they were real right, like philanthropy family. And so I I just love looking at her every time. So I'm telling your story, Emma. I'm telling your story. Yeah. So anyway, it's a real amazing story. So they were obviously quite wealthy. Now, like I said, the mother died and left him with 7 daughters, and that was in 1892. He then died in 1904. I think that's right, 1904. I've got my record somewhere. He went, and when he anyway, so when he died, obviously the daughters were left with the equivalent of about £5 million in today's money. Now the thing is, you know, back in the 1800s, women had to get married, didn't they? They had to get married, and but these girls, they didn't need to get married. And actually, what I've done is, so Emma is the only one. It's such an interesting story for the Antiques Roadshow. I honestly, if I could get on the Antiques Roadshow with this, Sharon, I would absolutely love to. I'd absolutely love to. And so Emma is the only one that got married. Emma is the only one that had children. She had 2 children, and so it's such an amazing story. And so they were left with like so much money. So these girls, they didn't need to get married. They had a wonderful life. They really had a wonderful life. Sharon was reading a comment, totally amazing where and why these quilts are made and where they come from. Absolutely. Oh my goodness, it is amazing. Yeah. And the thing is, I am someone that does buy a really old quilt off of eBay, and then you know, go down rabbit holes, which is essentially what I did with this. I know they are honestly very lucky. They're very lucky. And the thing is, as well, as I've traced all the girls on like ancestry records right up until when they all died, and I trace them as well. You could trace them to the Second World War, and in the Second World War, they were all living together. All of them, apart from Emma, who was with her husband and her 2 children, they were living together in their big house. And so, and it is incredible. But anyway, so I'm going to tell you something really sad now. Okay, really sad. So, you know, brace yourself for this bit. Brace yourself, because so like I mentioned, there's Emma and her sisters. There's like 7 of them in all, and the family were real philanthropists, and they built chapels, they built Sunday schools in Huddersfield, and they had their own chapel because they're primitive Methodists, and they had their own chapel, and they had their own graveyard in their chapel. And then what happened was we get into the 1970s and there wasn't many people going to their chapel. So they decided to amalgamate with another congregation in the area and they decided to put the chapel up for sale. Well, then it didn't get sold for quite some time. And you get into the 1990s and it got sold to somebody. And the reason how I found this all out was because I wanted to know where is she buried? I want to know where is she buried, because I want to go and visit her grave. That's what I want to do. I want to go and see her. And where are they all? And so I was doing some research and then I read something and I thought to myself, am I really reading what I'm reading? And I emailed this guy who had done this this research on because his family were also buried in the same graveyard, and he's called Andy, and I emailed Andy and I said, Andy, you don't know me, but I'm researching this bit of patchwork and blah 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 blah, and I said, am I reading what I'm reading? He said, absolutely, Rachel, you absolutely are. And what happened was, and you're all going to be so shocked about this, honestly, it's truly shocking. What happened was, in the 1990s, this guy came along and wanted to buy the chapel and the land and obviously the graveyard, and he wanted to turn it into a squash courts. And so he said to the Huddersfield Council, I want the graveyard as my car park. What can we do? So the Huddersfield Council said, oh, all you got to do is write down the names that's on the graveyard, the grave signs, the sign of the grave, the graveyard sign of it, and basically write it all down, keep the information, and then literally, there's gravestone, that's the word, and then lay the gravestone down and then concrete over the whole of the graveyard. I mean, I don't even know what to say. I mean, even I'm lost for words. I'm just like, what? So all of her family, apart from Emma, because she lived a long old life, did Emma? She lived way into her late 80s. Typical council. Absolutely, Sharon. Absolutely. So it's just crazy, isn't it? So anyway, so all of her family are, apart from Emma, are buried under the car park. Under the car park. I mean, it's just like, wow. Anyway, so one thing that I really wanted to do as part of my whole research was so I brought this in nearly 2 years ago now, and then last year I wanted to go to Huddersfield, I wanted to go to Bradford, because when she was brought up in Huddersfield in this very big house. The house has now been turned into a pub, and so I wanted to go there and I wanted to basically take this back to the house to photograph it in it and film it in it, which is what I did. And then I wanted to go to the chapel to go and basically lay some flowers in the grave in the car park, which I did. And I wanted to see the Sunday school as well, because I have read articles about how they did have a sewing class in the chapel, teaching the girls how to do so whereabouts is it? What you mean? Do you mean the graveyard or do you mean the house, Sharon? Because that I can tell you. So basically, hold on a minute. So the house. Oh yeah, and all good googly. That's probably a good thing. So okay. So the house was on the New Hay Road in Huddersfield, Lindley, Huddersfield, and now it's actually the Marsh Liberal Club. That is, what a story. Oh, honestly, it's an unbelievable story. There is more. So don't worry. There is more. You're like, what? There's more. Anyway, so the house itself was in. It's called Glenfield House, and it was on the New Hay Road in Huddersfield, and it's now called the Marsh Liberal Club. That is the house, and if you Google that, you will see the car park, because it's now been turned into a pub. Now, what's really, really fascinating, and this is something that I've still got to do, still part of my research, is the fact that the house that they owned, she was brought up in, it's now the Marsh Liberal Club. Well, when the dad, can I repeat it? I put screen recorder on. Amazing. So it's on the it's called the Marsh Liberal Club, and it's on the New Hay Road in Huddersfield. That's what it's called. But it wasn't the Marsh Liberal Club when they were there. It was called Glenfield House. But Glenfield House if you can see Glenfield House, there's Glenfield House. It's this is what I'm going to show you. It is now the Marsh Liberal Club. Now, what's really interesting is that when when he died, when her dad died, I found loads and loads of articles about the funeral, and it said that, I'm just going to find it for you. So I've got all the census records. Obviously, I do have it all in my Dropbox system as well. And it says about the funeral, and it says that he was a staunch liberal. Hello, Freya. How are you this evening? I'm doing my vintage quilt talk tonight. So he was a staunch liberal. And the house that they were brought up in, that they owned, is the Marsh Liberal Club. So was it passed over to the Marsh Liberals when he died? I don't know. I have no idea. That's one thing I would like to research to find out. And I have tried to contact them, but so far they haven't contacted me back. Anyway, so that's the first like interesting thing. And so then the other thing as well is that when she was an adult, she was married. She married a guy, and he was from a mill factory making, machinery making family as well. And so they had 2 children, and then they moved to Bradford, and also, so this is the house that they lived in, Bradford, and it was number 4 Oak Villas in Bradford. And they in 1921 I found her living in this house. So what I've tried to do, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to like follow the patchwork through history to try and to look at everywhere where it's been. So I know it was made in Marshfield House. I know it was made in there. I know it then went to 4 Oak Villas. I then know where it went to the other families as well. And it's just, there's something else I was going to read you actually, which is just wonderful. Yeah, so the lady that I said to you, she's written me a whole thing as well, all different all the different areas of houses. Oh, I know, loads of I mean, mostly, to be totally honest, mostly it's the same area really. It's Bradford, Huddersfield, Ickley in West Yorkshire. That's where it's been. And so but she did send me a little letter, and she said, as a child in the 1960s, I remember the quilting sample being displayed in a small glass top metal coffee table at my grandmother's house in Saltaire. I do not know exactly when the quilting came into my grandmother's possession, but believe it was from her mother's side of the family. Well, of course, we know that because of the patchwork in the back. And then it says, after my grandparents' death, the quilt was passed to my aunt and uncle who lived in Denholm. I've owned this piece of quilt since it was given to me by my aunt. And she says, as I don't have any children and I'm reaching an age where a future move would be to downsize, I want to find a home for the quilt sample. Will it be appreciated? Well, you know what? I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. And the artwork piece of Anal is the reason why it's come to you. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I thoroughly believe it was meant to come to me. So so there was a couple more things that I wanted to do, which actually I did. You saw me on my trip recently when I went up to Liverpool and Bradford. And so what I did was I went back. So I have been to Emma's grave. I don't have any pictures in here to show you her grave, unfortunately, but it will, when I do my film, it will be literally part of that, because I've done lots of filming, and I have been to visit her her AI needs to lady 90 quilts. Yeah, so I literally, well, I've been to visit her grave, and amazingly, she wasn't one that was buried underneath the car park. She's in a lovely grave with her husband and her daughter and her aunt, his aunt, and it's really lovely. And so so I went there, and I took the patchwork back to her house, got photos of it there, took it to the chapel, took it to the grave, and then again, but then this year I went back this year, because when I look, I'm the kind of person, I don't know if you've ever watched A House Through Time. Sometimes when I watch A House Through Time, I'm like, okay, but what about that? And what about that? And what about that? And so when I kind of looked at all of my research and I read it all back and everything else, I did think to myself, what I really want to know is I want to know more about the machinery. I want to see if I can find some of the machinery. And so I fitted in as part of my trip when I went up north to go to the Bradford Industrial Museum, because in that museum they've got machinery that literally looks like hold on, looks like that. That's what it looks like. And so it was really, really wonderful. So I went with my now new team member, Heidi, and we went to the Bradford Industrial Museum, and they turned all the machinery on for us, and we heard it all working. And it's just amazing. I mean, I think, am I almost there on the story? Maybe, maybe. I mean, I think I do know how the mother died. I know that the mother died from stomach cancer, because I've been given letters that were written when she was in a convalescence home back to the children. So I'd like to get that information into it, because obviously her mum was obviously very big, you know, she's a very big part of this, because obviously this fabric more than likely could have been her mum's dresses. It's a lady I know, Warden, the quilts, and she's made loads of them. Oh, that's amazing, isn't it? I mean, you know, somebody who like that is 90. I'd love to talk to someone like that, Sharon, because they, you know, the knowledge and the love of the quilts, you know, to be doing it at that age is just amazing. And yeah, so I think I'd love to tie up a few little ends. One of them is to get more like, not information because I've got it, but just build it into the story about the mother. And because I do actually have loads of photos of the family, and I have loads of photos in color. And so I do want to look closely at the photos, and I really want to study to see if I can maybe see one of these that's in it. That's one of the things I want to do. But I think probably apart from that, I'm probably there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it into an actual proper talk. So you've actually heard this live for the very first time, because I've been telling all my friends about it, but I haven't actually done the actual talk officially. And so and there is a few more little bits and bobs that I want to do. But you know what, but it is absolutely stunning. And what I'm going to do, I'll hold it up to the screen and get closer. It is amazing. Yeah, so look, if I hold it up to the screen, you can see it a bit closer. There you go, look. Can you see that? Isn't it stunning? It is absolutely stunning. And I'll show you the back as well. I cannot believe that it is now 9 o'clock and we started at 7. 2 hours of quilt history. How amazing. I'm just going to turn it over and I'll show you the back. There you go. There's all the back with all the writing. It's amazing. So hold on, I'm finding it all out. I know it has. Thank you so much, Nettie. It is something where, you know, you do, and then you're like, what about this? And what about that? And what about this? You should look into the Antiques Roadshow and take your place and just turn up. Funny enough, Sharon, I did at one point. I did look at the Antiques Roadshow, and I think you have to book into it. I think that's, but yeah, I think I did look at one point. But I definitely will be keeping an eye on it. That's for sure. But yeah, but like I said, so I've got like a whole folder now, and I've got a whole like loads of files on it, and I've got all like photos of it, and the census records, and then the house. And what I really loved as well is that, I don't know if you can, I'm gonna see if you can see it. If you can see this, look. So here, so that's the house. Hang on a minute. I'll show you guys first. Look, that's the house that she was brought up in. And can you see that doorstep there? That doorstep. I'm now going to show you. There you go. Look, can you see the house and then the doorstep? Right. So that's the house, the doorstep. And then if you look at that, you can see the same doorstep there, because it's got the same grill across the bottom. And when I went to go to the house and I took the photos and did some videos there with that doorstep's still there, and the actual door is still there. So I'd love to go inside, but unfortunately when I went they were closed, and I've been trying to get hold of them. So again, the Marsh Liberal Club, if anybody's listening to this, please get in contact, because I'd love to bring this back, and I'd love to see inside that place, because obviously if the doorstep's still the same, the door's still the same, and more like inside, maybe ceiling's going to be the same, I don't really know. But anyway, so that is the amazing story of Emma Isabel Sykes, who was born in hold on. Was born in, I've got everybody else. Oh, Emma, sorry. She was born in 1877. Emma Isabel Sykes was born in 1877, and she made this in 1890. Yeah, Lynn says definitely looking forward to seeing the film when it's completed. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, honestly, I definitely will get that. And Susan says it's truly amazing work. I've enjoyed the show. Narration from Rachel Orwell. Episode too late. I know, no, but but anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to yeah, I'm really happy that I've introduced you to Emma. So now you guys have all heard the story, and so and it is just a truly inspiring story. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish off showing you 2 quilts that I've got for sale, and then if you've got any questions while we're going through to the other room, have a little think. Let me know. I always look at Emma's picture and go, it's all your story. Right, let's go this way. I'm just going to have to quickly sort out the lights. Hold on a minute. There we go. So if you were on my Let's Go Shopping to the SHQA shop earlier, then you would have heard about these, but I'm going to talk to you about them again. Have you more antique quilts? Oh, I've got. They're my oldest. The 3 that I showed you are my oldest ones, and I do have some. They're not. I wouldn't call them antique. I have ones that are like 15, 20 years old. But I'm always on the lookout. I'm always on the lookout for vintage quilts. But I have seen some that I like before. But then I'm thinking, I don't know about that one. I don't know about that one. But what I really love is I love ones that either I can buy it from the family or it's got a label on it. So the bit I bought that was Emma Isabel's was £40, £40. I mean, it's incredible. It's worth far, far more than that. Far more than that. And this is the thing as well, with absolute bargain. I know, absolute bargain. I mean, it's just incredible. I mean, the yellow one that I got when I went to Phoenix, Arizona, she's still minted. Yeah, she probably is. The one that I got when I went to Arizona, I think was about £100. That yellow one, the yellow one I showed you with the Philadelphia pathway. So that one is that was about £100 when I got that one. But it's really lovely. I'm always on the lookout for them. But anyway, so thank you so much for bearing. So listen to all for 2 hours with my quilt history, and I'm just going to just remind you about 2 quilts that I've personally got for sale at the moment. One of them is this one, which is a I should like to put it that way. There you go. This is a wonky star quilt. It's got hot pink stars there with a pale pink, and then white fabric on the back with little pink stars. And this one's all been machine sewn, and this is for sale in my TikTok shop currently. I might, if it hasn't sold by our quilt show, I may well have it for sale at the quilt show potentially if there's space. And it's really, really lovely. I do really love doing wonky stars. Like I showed you in my sampler quilt earlier, that one, that's got the wonky star in it. And it's all been quilted. If you want a label put on it, I can put a label on it. And this one is in my TikTok shop currently for £100 for that one. And then the other one, which I have decided to sell, which is my Liberty Bridgerton quilt. Hello, Emma. Emily, welcome to you this evening. I'm just going to bring that back, bring it out. How are you, my lovely Emily? Are you good? I'm just going to, you're just coming in right at the end while I'm finishing my my little history quilt talk. But anyway, so this is a quilt that I'm very good. Thank you very much. I'm very, very good. Thanks for asking. Yeah, so this quilt here, actually, sorry. Ah, thank you, Sharon, for following me. I've just realised you can't see it. There you go. You can see it now. So this quilt here, I've hand sewed the whole quilt, and there's 40 hours of work in this quilt, and there's probably a fair few £100 of fabric in it, because the fabric is really special because it's limited edition Liberty Bridgerton fabric, because Liberty did a collaboration with Netflix to create the fabric for season 3, and then what they did was they released some of the fabric that you could actually buy the fabric, and a lot of the fabric is now sold out. You can't get it at all, but the fabric when it was on for sale was £30 a metre, because it's a Tana lawn fabric. And so what I decided to do was to create it into Patchwork Across's blocks, and there is 12 blocks in it. And then what I did it in the hexie form that you saw me talking about earlier, and in they're 1.5 inch honeycombs. And I haven't, I haven't done, I'll read that in a second, Sharon. I say I haven't done fussy cutting with it, but I kind of have in a way, because what I wanted to do was to keep some of the wording in the fabric. And so you've got, like up here, you've got Bridgerton there, and then you've got Tana Lawn, which is what the fabric is. And then you've got Made in Italy, because their Liberty fabric is made in Italy. And then you've got Bridgerton, you've got Netflix over here, and then you've got Liberty there and Liberty there. So I did like kind of fussy cut it a little bit to get that in it. And anyway, so it's all got limited edition Liberty fabric in there. It's always got limited edition Liberty fabric on the back, and it's got 40 hours of work in it. And I have really enjoyed making it, but I've decided actually I'm going to sell it so someone else can enjoy it. And probably, like I was saying earlier today, if I probably put like an actual proper price on it for like 40 hours worth of work and hundreds of pounds of fabric and the wadding and the time and everything else, you'd probably be looking at well over £1,000 for it. But I decided that actually I'm going to decide to sell it for 350, and it is in my TikTok shop to be able to buy if you want to. Just because I really want it to go to someone that's going to absolutely love it, you know, and enjoy it. And maybe you want to buy it like as a special gift for someone, I don't know. But if you want me to put a label on the back, I can do. I could put a label on saying that I've made it when I made it. You don't have to have that. You can have and what you want on it, really. But it is quite a big quilt. I think I was saying earlier, it's 110 centimetres wide by 150 centimetres long, and currently it is in the TikTok shop. Whether this one will come to the quilt show, if it isn't showed by then, I don't know. Depends if I can fit it in. Maybe, I don't really know, but we will see. Let me just have a look at the comments. Either my if you had the sites by then, possibly. I know, that's the thing. That is the thing. And Nettie saying, thank you for a few hours recorded. I know. Well, yeah, thank you for joining. So anyway, so I hope you really enjoyed this evening. And this is our not going to Festival of Quilts. And actually, I've got to do something quickly. Hold on a minute. I've got to go back the other way. Because I just realised that I'm just going to bring you back in here for a minute. And I just realised, because I have, if you've been watching them, I have been doing like a little video of my live streaming. So I thought I'd put a little video of me videoing for my live streaming in the video showing about the quilts. There you go. So yeah, so I hope you've enjoyed this evening, and I will definitely be back on tomorrow. Oh, I should leave that like that. It's got a bridge on the thing. I will definitely be back on tomorrow night. I think tomorrow we're just about to put them all in, actually. Oh, thank you so much, Maz. Thank you so much. We're going to put them all in. I think tomorrow night I'm going to be live at 8 o'clock. Most of the nights this week I'm going to do 8 o'clock coming. And I don't know what we're going to be doing tomorrow night, actually, because we've done the bunting, we've done the Julie Quilters bunting. I don't even know. Maybe more ghost quilting, because I've got, yeah, probably ghost quilting, because I've got to get that quilt finished ready for the quilt show, and I've got my own Crafty Stitchers group tomorrow, so I'm going to be teaching them in the morning, and I'm teaching them North Stars, and we're going to be doing Christmas ones tomorrow, so that's really exciting. And then the cat's got the vets in the afternoon, but I will definitely see you in the evening, and I will. Oh, okay, I definitely will. You know, sewing, but uses material. How interesting, Sharon. How interesting. I will look at that. So yeah, so thank you so much for joining me tonight, and I hope you really enjoyed it. And also, it's been a wonderful 4 days actually for our Not Going to Festival Quilts events that we've done, and we'll definitely do it next year. And hopefully next year we'll have much more going on, much more bits and bobs going on. And then please, if you're able to come to our quilt show, please do, the 5th and 6th of September at the Brighton Racecourse. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be absolutely wonderful. And tickets are currently discounted in our SHQA website, but of course you can get them on the door if you want to. Anyway, so first of all, I'm going to say good night to everybody over on YouTube, and I will see you tomorrow. See you later. Bye. Ah, thank you, Lynn. That's wonderful.
Come along to our first So Happy Quilters Association quilt show at Brighton Racecourse. Tickets available on our website. You can find the So Happy Quilters Association on social media, and don't forget to subscribe.